Blood has been spilled, and this time the hands that spilled it wear the uniform of the South African state. 2 Nigerians lie dead, not at the hands of faceless mob alone, but allegedly beaten and killed by members of the South African National Defense Force and the police. What began as viral videos has now crossed a deadly threshold into a full-blown diplomatic crisis that the continent can no longer ignore. Before we get into the details, do me a quick favor. Like this video, hit the subscription button right now, and while you are there, tap the notification bell so you never miss a new video when it drops. And also share this post so more Africans and concerned people around the world can join and stay updated on the following situations. Now, let's get into it. We have been following these stories since the first videos appeared, and today the story has crossed a threshold it cannot uncross. 2 Nigerians are dead. South African security forces killed them, and the attack has spread across KwaZulu-Natal, Durban, the East Cape, Gauteng, Pretoria, and Johannesburg. Vigilante groups are conducting what they call clean-up campaigns throughout the streets. Foreign-owned shops have now been looted and destroyed, an Ethiopian man was shot dead at close range in downtown Johannesburg on camera. The United States General has issued a condemnation, and the African Commission on Human and People's Rights has issued a formal statement. Ghana has summoned South Africa's envoy and is flying its most visible victim home. And as of April 29, 2026, today, intelligence reports indicate a possible nationwide shutdown as it's been planned for early May, and this is no longer a social media story with diplomatic implications. It's a diplomatic crisis with lives lost. 2 Nigerians who have died, they have names: Amaramiro, Emmanuel, and Ekpenyong Andrews. Emmanuel reportedly died from injuries sustained after being beaten by personnel of the South African National Defense Force on April 20 in Port Elizabeth. And Andrew was arrested on April 19 in Gauteng, Pretoria, following an alleged altercation of the Toshan Metro Police. And his body was found at the Pretoria Central Mortuary days later. And the Nigerian Consulate General in Johannesburg confirmed both deaths. Both involved South African security personnel, not just vigilante mobs, not just angry crowds, members of the country's own armed forces and the police. That detail cannot be treated as accidental. It is the detail that transformed this from a mob violence story into a state accountability story. Emmanuel Ashamo's initial video and the first stories that we covered, it became the defining image of this wave. Not because it showed the worst physical violence, but because of what it made undeniable. Illegal residents with valid documentation, surrounded by a mob that had already decided the documents were fake, and being told to leave a country where he had every legal right to be. The crowd's response when he produced his certified copy was to accuse him of buying the permit from a corrupt official. The accent was verdict, the paperwork was irrelevant, and one member of the crowd said it plainly: "We don't want Africans here anymore." Let's take a look at some of the widely spread videos online.
Go back to your countries, we are tired of you guys! Go back to your countries, stop this nonsense! You destroy your country! You come to South Africa to destroy your country!
We know you, the media, are trying to label us as xenophobic, as if we're hating other Africans. We love our fellow brothers. We know their contribution in our struggle as South Africans. We know that they all contributed, but we are saying migration must be lawful. Document everything.
I'm not the doctor, I'm not born.
Also, a March and March movement member and evangelist, St. Delamy, says undocumented foreigners must return to their respective countries as South Africa can no longer accommodate all of them in Africa. Let's take a look at these videos.
My name is Evangelist St. Delamy. From the establishment of the Martian March last year, I was there. What we're saying to illegal foreigners, it's simple. It's simple. We're just saying it's simple. From the Bible, John 10 verse 1. It's simple to say, anyone who enters the country without proper documentation, that someone is a thief. So we know that most of these foreigners, most of them, they enter our country illegally. So they are the thieves. So they can't come here and be a thief. So we want to say to them, let them go to their country and fight their government. Maybe we'll even assist them, We assist them because our forefathers, they died fighting apartheid with bare hands. With bare hands. They fight white people. They fight Afrikaners with bare hands, and they won. And these people, they all gathered in South Africa. Imagine, Africa's got 52 countries. All these 51 countries, they are coming here. Like, what space? What space for all of them? Ghanaians are here, Nigerians are here, Zimbabweans are here, Mozambicans are here. They can't be all here at once. They must also go to their countries and make their country great. Because South Africa is great, but it wasn't made just through the night. It was made through fighting with apartheid, fighting. Then we got our freedom. And now, since we got our freedom, they coming here to take this freedom. Let them go to fight for freedom in their country. Simple. That's what we're saying. We're not fighting with them like physically, but we're saying let them go to their country and fight for freedom. Fight from economic freedom, because our infrastructure cannot accommodate 52 countries in one country. No.
It's a call to say, can all the churches that are headed by non-South African leaders, can they be scrutinized? Not because we're xenophobic, but because we want to sort out and clean out the rot from the right ones. And if you're the right ones, you will not fight and oppose it, you will do it. And here's another thing. If you were to go back and reapply to say, I'm coming from this country, Ethiopia, Uganda, Ghana, wherever, and I want to come to South Africa to open a church, apply properly through our immigration systems, will the immigration system approve you? Is your preaching, your style of preaching and deliverance a scarce skill that our own South African pastors can't do it? So it's not being xenophobic, it's about cleaning out the rot, because not all of them, like I say, not all of them are doing the rotten things that others are doing. This is a call to say.
And on April 26, 2026, a 21-second video appeared on social media. In it, a group of black South Africans is seen standing before Chinese, Indian, Pakistan, and Bangladesh shop owners, and the message they deliver is very direct. Stop employing other Africans. Dismiss them. Prioritize South Africans local for every job in your shops. Let's watch the video.
Able to hire South Africans because of these reasons.
Wait, so what you're basically saying is if two shops don't comply, we all suffer?
Yes.
And that's tomorrow.
That's why we said everything is on, because we've been speaking with the management.
The video we watch, it reviews a layer of the campaign that goes beyond just street violence. It's now an organized attempt to use economic pressure as an instrument of exclusion, to reach into the employment decisions of foreign-owned businesses and to force them to participate in the removal of African workers. The mob is no longer attacking only immigrants. It's now pressuring employers to fire them. And that is a structurally different and considerable, more organized form of economic welfare. And this organizational architecture behind this wave is more developed and more politically connected than the previous episodes that we've seen. And it is a dimension of the story that's more international coverage has underreported. Let's hear what Ghana High Commissioner in South Africa has to say.
Well, in the last 2 years, we've not had the incidence of any xenophobic attack. Now, from the briefings that we've had with government officials in South Africa, it is clear that there's a pattern. Anytime there are going to be local and municipal elections, these things occur. We've been told by security experts in the country and also government officials that they believe that this is also as a result of the local elections that will be held in November, December of this year. Authorities have told us that they believe that there's a political undertone to it. They're investigating it, and they assured us, both in Ghana and also other African countries, that they will come up with their reports to indicate to us those that are truly behind these barbaric incidences, and to ensure that we continue to live together as brothers and sisters from the same African continent.
March and March is the primary movement driving the ground-level confrontations. It is led by Jansita Ngobeze Zuma and is linked to Ginzwe Mochino, a podcaster with a history of homophobic content and a large social media following. Let's take a look at this video.
With people from outside of Africa, South Africa actually, for 32 years, in millions and millions of them. But if you walk right down the road, you'll find that they now are taking over buildings. There's prostitution, there's drugs, there's cartels, there's mafias. Everything in this country is a fertile ground for criminals to thrive. So we're not getting the best of the best when it comes to immigrants. We're getting those immigrants who are running away from their countries because they know that they're criminal elements. And our government is just letting them be because they want to paint them as victims. They're not victims.
Cinda, how are you determining that these are illegal foreigners? Because, I mean, we know that already last week, General Mkhwanazi did say that there needs to be a way to verify, but how do you verify?
Well, it's not our job to verify, but when we're marching, when we're doing operations, there's always the police. It's their job to ask people for their papers, and if they don't have papers, then obviously they're illegal. And we've had a number of people, every single place that we go that is a hub for foreigners, there's tons of illegal. Very few of these people are documented, actually. Very, very few. And the ones that are documented are not behaving and carrying themselves in this manner that these that are not documented are. And that is the problem that we have today, is that everyone is being grouped with the same type of banner. When we talk about illegal immigrants, nobody wants to hear the parts about illegal. You all just want to say foreigners and xenophobia and whatnot. We are talking about people who crossed the border or who flew here with no documents and then started building a life for themselves. We don't know these people. We don't know their background. We don't know what type of crimes they're running away from in their country. But we're supposed to just integrate with those people and life must carry on, because if we don't, then we're xenophobic. There's nothing xenophobic about wanting law and order in your own country. And this thing of calling us xenophobic is not going to work anymore, unfortunately, because we don't care what you label us. We really don't care. Call us whatever you want to call us, but South Africa is not going to die at the extent of people trying to tell us what to do in our own country to make sure that it's surviving and it thrives for the future of this country.
So what do you make then of the criticism that you're only targeting black African foreigners?
Look, I don't think criticism is abnormal. Criticism is normal. But like I said, anyone who's criticizing us, criticize us with something in hand.
The political connections are the part that makes this wave categorically different from previous episodes, and that's the part that most South African government condemnations have carefully avoided addressing directly. The Durban protests were supported not only by the March and March, but by Action SA, the Patriotic Alliance, and the Inkatha Freedom Party. And though Action SA's national spokesperson, Loreto Ngoweni, rejected claims that the party is exploiting anti-immigrant sentiment to win votes ahead of the local government elections. Let's take a look.
We have formed part of this march with March and March. We've been part of March and March for quite some time. We were in Congo some couple of weeks ago. We were in KZN as well. You know that when we started with Action SA, also with our president, when he started the party, before he was after he was the mayor of the city of Joburg, he's always been highlighting the issue of illegal immigration and its impact in our society, but particularly there in the city of Johannesburg. It only follows, because that is really what our creed is and our value is. As actually say, we've always been championing this particular matter, and so we always said to support any movement in South Africa that really wants to put pressure on the government to do better in managing our immigration system.
So then how do you respond to critics? I mean, people who say that political parties are using anti-migrant sentiments to garner support ahead of the local government elections.
We've got nothing to say to them. As I said, we've been doing this for quite some time. We have been fighting this issue irrespective of campaigning. Dr. Mashaba, when he was the mayor, he's been fighting this issue. He was not campaigning. And so at the end of the day, people always make up their minds. We know why we are here. We know that we're not xenophobic. We know we're not Afrophobic. We know that we're dealing with issues. For example, where we've got a child, Mazwi, who's missing in phosphorus. Is that xenophobic? What is that? What do you call that? When an issue comes up against the people of South Africa, what do you call that? On the other side, when it's reversed, what do you call it? And so at the moment, we're not interested in that. If you want to have those kind of debates, there are universities and institutions of higher learning, they can have these immaculate debates. We are dealing with what the people of South Africa are saying. You can see the numbers here. People who can, this number of people cannot be placed. And so we are responding to that. If they want to have an academic debate.
And in Tembisa, protests were organized by the Mungusi Zone D under the Labour and Civic Organization, a formation that emerged directly from the labor desks of Jacob Zuma's Nkotoho Wezinwe party. And the MKP connection is not a direct line. I mean, no evidence establishes formal MKV control of the March and March, but the associations are documented and the political geography is very clear. South Africa is heading into critical local government elections, and stirring hostility towards foreigners is, as analyst Nkosolo Ntando wrote in a widely shared Premium Times column, that a tried and tested political instrument is a way to mobilize support, to redirect frustrations, and generate visibility for parties whose economic answers to the consequence is nothing. And civil society groups in South Africa, they're also taking a stand against xenophobic and dehumanizing of other Africans. Let's watch it.
We are marching for justice. We are tired of the exploitation that is happening, dehumanizing of other people or othering other people because we call them illegal. And our argument is that the right to dignity is for all people. It's not dependent on the border. It's not dependent on how someone sounds or where they are from. It's a human inherent right. What government is not telling people, or what the politicians are not telling people when they try and scapegoat migrants, is that these issues are an issue that is occurring because of their lack of delivering service to the people, right? It's not happening because a few people cross the border. So that's the truth that we are advocating for.
This demonstration is first and foremost a statement that the few xenophobes that are out there harassing migrants, scapegoating them for all the problems that we are not speaking for all of us. So we are saying, in people from workers' movement, from communities, that we see our problems. Our problem is mass unemployment in this country. It's crisis of factory closures, of deindustrialization. Many mines are closed that used to provide tens of thousands of jobs in our community. The idea that all of that, the 12.4 million unemployed people in this country are because of the migrants, is outrageous. We have problems in this country, and what we are saying is that government must stop scapegoating migrants. We are saying that the hate speech, the violence that is being meted on migrants must come to an end, and there must be an action on the part of those.
And on May 4, 2026, which is next Monday, a nationwide shutdown has been called for. The language of the organizing message circulated by groups connected to the movement is ambiguous in a way that strips away any remaining pretense of documentation argument. The shutdown calls for businesses, workplaces, and schools to close in solidarity with the march. And the May 4 date is now the critical deadline against which every government statement and every diplomatic assurances will be measured. And now, to what government has said and to what every government has not said, Ramaphosa spoke on Freedom Day on April 27 at Dr. Ranti Molema Stadium in Bloemfontein. He condemned xenophobia, and he said that South Africa's constitution enshrines human dignity. He said concerns over illegal migration must not turn into prejudice against fellow Africans. Let's take a look.
Never allow the legitimate concerns of our communities about illegal migration to breed prejudice and hatred towards our fellow Africans. We should not allow that to happen. Yes, we all have concerns, as many other countries in the world have concerns about undocumented and illegal migrants. We must not allow these concerns to give rise to xenophobia, to give rise to hatred that is directed towards people from other African countries or any parts of the world. We are South Africans. We cannot be driven by hatred towards others. Others gave us compassion. They gave us support. And we cannot be driven by hatred towards them. Instead, we must insist that the law of our country be upheld and enforced. That is why we are clamping down on illegal migration and on businesses that flout the law by hiring undocumented persons at the expense of our citizens. I spoke about this during the State of the Nation address. We are actively rooting out corruption in our immigration system. We know that a number of people who have come in illegally into our country were allowed by some, not all, officials who have had corrupt tendencies. We will not allow people to take the law into their own hands. We extend hospitality to those who are guests in our country with the expectation that generosity is honored with respect for our society.
And then he proceeds to say that those who are, in South Africa legally should respect the South Africans. They should respect their laws, their conventions and traditions. And they should also, respect all of the people as they would want their own laws and traditions of their own countries be respected. Let's watch the video.
Those who are here legally respect us as South Africans, respect our laws, respect our conventions and our traditions, as you would want us to respect the laws and traditions of your own country. As a nation that defeated colonialism and apartheid through international solidarity, we carry a responsibility to advance constitutional values beyond our borders. So we therefore say, yes, let us allow our laws to take their course. We have already set in place the way in which we will be able to deal with those who are in our country illegally. We remain committed to multilateralism, to respect for international law and principled diplomacy. International law was born from the devastation of global conflict. It is a shield for all countries in the world, regardless of their size or influence. True multilateralism demands respect for diversity while remaining firm in the core principles of sovereignty, of human rights, of freedom, of accountability, and peaceful coexistence.
And every word of that speech could be, said as the right word, but none of it named a single organization. None of it named March and March. None of it named Jacinta Ngobeze Zuma. And none of it acknowledged the political party connections to the process. None of it addressed the fact that 2 South African security force members are implicated in the death of 2 Nigerians. That gap between the correct rhetoric and the absence of specific accountability is where the damage accumulates. South Africa's acting police minister, Firoz Kachila, issued a statement calling xenophobic acts unlawful and a violation of constitutional values, warning that perpetrators would be arrested and prosecuted, and he said clearly no individuals or group has the authority to take the law into their own hands. South African authorities confirmed to Ghana High Commissioner that the perpetrators behind the Asamo attack are known and that government will hold them accountable. High Commissioner Benjamin Kwashe said he received direct assurances that investigations are ongoing and that those persons in the vigilante groups have been interviewed, and those assurances are the basis on which Ghana is currently calibrating its diplomatic response. Let's take a look.
I think that the narrative has been set, everything is under control. I believe that the Foreign Affairs Minister has given us a very clear indication of what is happening in South Africa and how we are handling the situation. I can assure you that the Ghanaian community is in high spirits. The Ghanaian community believes that we'll continue to be law-abiding, we'll continue to be very responsible immigrants in this country, and we'll continue to carry out our duties in this country according to the tenets of the regulations and laws of the country. It's rather an unfortunate situation that has happened. The South African authorities are not happy with it. The Ghanaian authorities are not happy with it. And we are collectively working together to ensure the safety of both citizenry in the melee that has befallen all of us.
Ghana's response, once again, has been the most precisely calibrated of any affected country and the one setting the standard against which others are being measured. Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto, the Ablaka, summoned South Africa's acting High Commissioner Thando Dambala on April 23, a formal diplomatic escalation that created a legal and diplomatic record.
It is really condemnable to see that particularly West Africans have come under another round of xenophobic attacks in South Africa. And this time, Ghanaians have been targeted and other nationals from West Africa. Earlier today, I held a meeting with the Chargé of the South African High Commission in Accra. Yesterday, I had a telephone conversation with my counterpart, the Foreign Minister of South Africa. And in all of those engagements, Ghana has strongly condemned the xenophobic attacks our nationals have come under. I acknowledge that our counterparts in South Africa have expressed regret, have assured us that there will be investigations and that they will take steps to nip this really condemnable and regrettable xenophobic attack in the bud.
Nigeria's response, on the other hand, has been more institutional and has generated its own internal criticism for its pace and its tone. The Nigerian consulate identified the 2 Nigerians and issued a statement. NIDCOM Chair Abike Dabiri Erewa issued a formal statement on April 29, making 4 demands of the South African government: stronger security in affected areas, swift prosecution of offenders, a structured dialogue forum involving both government and law enforcement, and public statements condemning xenophobia and discouraging the stereotypings of Nigeria. NIDCOM's statement was explicit that the situation is deteriorating, and I quote, while many expected a escalation of tensions following earlier engagement between both governments, the situation on the ground is deteriorating, end quote. And Nigeria's acting ambassador to South Africa, Alexander Ajayi, described the attacks as isolated tension rather than a coordinated attacks against Nigerians. Let's take a look.
Very much. You can be more correct with your analysis in terms of the roles that many African countries have played in the total independence of South Africa. But right now, let me first, to the point, say that right now, Nigeria are not under siege in South Africa. We currently, the situation is currently under control. The government are working on it. The two governments are working on it. Actually, the priority right now is to ensure the safety and well-being of every citizen, including foreigners. What we have seen is a kind of isolated tension, and that is why it called for caution. But in terms of direct attack or direct siege on Nigerians, that is not taking place right now. There have been some concerns about foreigners in terms of people targeting foreigners, all about. But the government have come out to issue a statement on that, particularly the police commissioner have cautioned the people against targeting foreigners and xenophobic practices. So for now, I'm particularly in Pretoria right now, and the situation is relatively calm. Also in Johannesburg, it is calm. So what we had before was an isolated happenings in KwaZulu-Natal in Durban, which was contained and which informed the prompt response by the government in terms of issuing out that directive to the people. And again, we have also issued some advisories, which...
And this is a characterization that NICASA, that is the Nigerian Citizens Association in South Africa, has pushed back on sharply. NICASA President Frank Okiyekwelu described the current climate as one of escalating hostilities and appealed directly to President Tinubu for swift actions, stating collective criminalization must stop. And the contrast between Ghana's response and Nigeria's response is being discussed widely on social media across both countries, and the discussion is worth engaging with, honestly. Because Nigeria has more citizens in South Africa, more economic exposure, and historically more political noise around all of these episodes. But the noise has rarely translated into durable protections. Ghana's Simon Dihe, High Commissioner on day one, named the victim publicly, committed state funds to protection and relocation, issued a clear moral statement connecting the attacks to the anti-apartheid solidarity that Ghana provided, and Nigeria, whose anti-apartheid support was at least as significant as Ghana's, whose workers donated salaries, whose government provided diplomatic cover, whose universities trained South African academies, has responded through commission statement and ambassador characterization of the attacks as isolated. 2 Nigerians are dead, and the acting ambassador called this an isolated tension. That gap is what's driving the criticism on Nigerian social media, and that criticism is substantially fair. An international institution response has been more robust than in previous cycles. The African Commission on Human and People's Rights issued a formal statement deploring the attacks, placing them in the documented historical pattern from 1998 through 2025 and making 4 specific demands of the South African government: prompt impartial investigations, accountability and access to justice for victims, decisive measures to dismantle vigilante groups, and enhanced protection for migrants in high-risk areas. The Commission's called the current wave as a continuation of a long-standing pattern of xenophobic violence that constitutes a grave violation of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres strongly condemns the attack, stating that violence and hatred have no place in democratic society. The AU's Agenda 2063 envoy to Ghana, Ambassador Ben Owusu, condemned the attacks publicly. And these are stronger institutional voices that were raised in previous cycles, and they arrived faster. The May 4 shutdown is the test everything else has been building towards. It's a moment where rhetoric meets consequence. Matosa has condemned xenophobia, Kachila has promised zero violence, the ACHPR has issued a formal demand for action against vigilante groups, Ghana's High Commissioner has been assured that perpetrators are known, and Nigeria's NIDCOM has made 4 formal demands. The African Commission has called for the dismantling of groups engaging in unlawful enforcement activities, and all of that institutional response is sitting on one side of a scale. On the other side is a group that has explicitly stated its intention to shut down the country next Monday in pursuit of removing foreigners, whether they are documented or not. And if the South African state allows that shutdown to proceed without visible, specific, named accountable for the individuals and organizations that have spent the last 2 weeks assaulting, killing, and coercing its cities, then every statement made by every South African official in this circle would have been confirmed as exactly what previous circle trained observers expect them to be, which is holding patterns dressed as policy responses, buying time until the attention moves on. The continent is waiting this more closely than it watched any previous circle. The institutional responses are louder and the diplomatic escalations, they've arrived faster. There's some more video which traveled further and faster than any previous image from a South African xenophobia episode. And the May 4th shutdown, if it proceeds as organized, it would test whether the volume of the international response this time is matched by anything durable on the ground, or whether the circle simply resets and once again at exactly the point where it was before the camera started rolling. And that's it for today, Waywayves. History has a cruel way of repeating itself, but the audience for this circle has changed. For years, we're told that these were isolated tensions, the outbursts of the disenfranchised, the uncoordinated rage of the forgotten, but we are no longer watching a mob. We are watching a movement, and when the state-owned uniform is spotted in the wreckage of its life stolen, the veil of isolated incidents, it finally falls away. May 4th is not just a date on the calendar, it's a mirror. And on that day, South African governments will face a choice that goes beyond politics. They can either uphold the constitutional promise of a rainbow nation, an idea that once stood as a beacon for all of Africa, or they can allow their streets to become a laboratory for institutionalized exclusions. If they choose the former, we expect to see more than speeches, we expect to see the dismantling of the structures that have turned xenophobia into a campaign too. But if they allow the May 4th shutdown to proceed in the name of patriotism, then they will have confirmed the bitter truth that solidarity, which birthed their democracy, has become the casualty of their electioneering. To our brothers and sisters in the diaspora and to the powers in Pretoria, Abuja, and Accra, the world is not just watching, the world is keeping score. And this time, the silence that followed previous circles, it would not be enough, because for 2 families in Nigeria and for the countless other livings in the shadow of this terror, this circle didn't just reset. It ended in a tragedy that no amount of diplomatic calculation can fix. The continent is waiting. The question is no longer whether South Africa will condemn the hate. The question is whether they have the courage to stop it. This is Waywayves Daily, where we go beyond headlines to break down the political, the economic and social forces shaping the world today and how they directly impact Africans everywhere. And if you're not already part of the family, do me a quick favor, hit that subscription button right now. And while you're there, tap the notification bell so you never miss a new video when it drops, because we post daily and trust me, you don't want to be the last one hearing about these stories. Also drop in the comments right now where you're watching from and what's happening in your city, in your town, or the corner of the world. Big or small, politics, vibes on the street, social issues, celebrations, anything. Bring it to our notice because we read every single one and sometimes even feature them in our future videos. I am your host, Emmanuel. See you tomorrow.